So in case you guys missed it, I'm in the process of transforming our garage into the ultimate weekend warrior woodworking shop, and the next item on my to-do list is looking at our garage door. And obviously, since I'm going to be working in this space a lot more moving forward, I want it to be more comfortable. I want it to keep out bugs and pests and leaves and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, our garage door is one of the big culprits when it comes to letting in all of those things. Our house is a little bit over 20 years old, which means this garage door is also a little over 20 years old, and it's seen a lot of wear and tear over those years. And so in this video, I'm going to show you 5 easy upgrades I've made to our garage door to make it both better sealed, but also just run more smoothly and a lot more quietly. So upgrade number 1 on my list is gonna be garage door insulation. And thankfully, our garage door was already insulated, but some of the walls in our garage weren't, so I went ahead and had that taken care of. But thankfully, the process of insulating a garage door is usually pretty simple. Most home improvement stores will sell some sort of garage door insulation kit. You can also just DIY it by cutting up some panels of insulation foam. And my buddy Nils from the Learn to DIY channel has a couple great videos on this. He tested some different insulation methods and went into detail about his favorite method and the whole process. So if your garage door isn't insulated, I would highly recommend that, because as you'll probably know, during the winter, an uninsulated garage door will let in a ton of cold air, and during the summer, these things just radiate heat. And while adding insulation to this style of paneled garage door is pretty simple, you might have a harder time if you have something like a roll top garage door, and in that case, you might just want to look at having a new garage door installed. And that's exactly what I did over at my main shop, and it has helped tremendously in keeping that shop space more comfortable and a lot quieter because it's reduced a lot of the road noise. Upgrade number 2 was also related to keeping the garage more comfortable, and that was replacing the bottom seal. So obviously, having outside air leaking into your garage is a big problem, and one of the easiest ways to keep that air outside is to make sure the seals around your garage door are in good shape. So as I mentioned, our house is a little over 20 years old, and during that time, the bottom seal had seen lots of abuse. I know there was a mouse in our garage at some point, and I'm pretty sure these missing sections at each end of the door are thanks to that little guy. Thankfully, the bottom seal was easy and cheap to replace, and I started by removing the old seal. Typically, these will have some kind of track that the rubber slides into, and I first needed to remove the seal to get access to the mounting screws for the track. And I definitely recommend wearing gloves when doing this, because you'll most likely expose years of dead bugs, spiders' nests, and in my case, something a little more sad.
Oh my God. Entire dead bird.
After removing the seal, I could remove the mounting screws for the track, and the area behind the track was also chock full of spiders. After cleaning off the bottom edge of the garage door, I could get the new seal installed, and I actually looked back at my order history, and I ordered this new seal over a year and a half ago and just never got around to installing it. Thankfully, the installation process was really easy, and I started by installing the new track. And this track was aluminum instead of plastic, and the instructions recommended adding some caulk to help seal the track to the door. The track attached to the door with a few self-tapping screws, and I just worked my way down the garage door, adding more sections until I got to the last section. This section needed to be cut to length, and since this track was aluminum, I could have cut it with something like a miter saw or circular saw, but I already had my Portaband handy, so I just used that. Next, it was time to add the seal, and the directions recommended using a screwdriver to push the seal into the track, but this was a painfully slow process. Instead, I think sliding the seal into the track would have been way faster and easier. But 20 minutes of seal stuffing later, and the seal was installed, and now I could test the garage door to see how much better sealed it was.
Well, that wasn't what I was expecting.
So unfortunately, because this new seal was so much thicker than the old seal, the garage door opener kept thinking there was something blocking the door from fully closing. Thankfully, I'd be adding a new garage door opener next, so I didn't bother with adjusting this, but just be aware that you might need to make a few tweaks or just let the seal kind of settle in before your garage will shut properly. Let's take a second to talk about the sponsor of this week's video, Vever, and their new random orbit sander. So sanding is one of my least favorite woodworking tasks, and that's why I think it's definitely worth investing in a good quality random orbit sander, because you're gonna be doing a lot of it if you're getting into woodworking. Unfortunately, sanders can be extremely expensive depending on the brand you pick, and that's why I was really excited to try out this new sander. And this sander has a lot of the features that I look for in a sander, including a paddle switch, which makes turning it on and off really quick and easy. It also has an electronic brake, so it spins down super quick. This sander also includes both a 5-inch and 6-inch pad, so you can change out the pad size depending on the size of project you're working on. And Vever includes a sampler pack of sandpaper to get you started, but this whole pattern should work with a lot of popular brands and styles of sandpaper out there. The speed of the orbit on the sander is adjustable between 4,000 and 10,000 RPM, and this thing seems plenty powerful. It did a great job here on this kind of test piece I've been working on, plus the dust collection was really good, which is another really important feature on any sander. Another big feature I look for is good vibration dampening, just so it doesn't destroy your hands over hours of sanding, and this sander seems to have really good dampening built in. And I will definitely be doing some further tests with this sander, but so far I think it's a great alternative to some of the big box store sanders you might see, and the price point is really hard to beat. So if you want to check it out, I'll have a link to it in the video description below, and you can use my coupon code to get an additional 5% off. Thanks again to Vever for sponsoring this week's video, and let's get back to work. So speaking of the new opener, upgrade number 3 was going to be replacing this overhead opener with a side mount opener. And doing this would solve a few issues for me, number 1 being opening up a ton of overhead space above where my assembly table will live in this garage space. The old opener was only about 7 feet above the ground, which is way lower than I'd like. And these chain-driven openers are much louder than the side-mounted opener I'd be installing next, so my garage door should also operate a lot more quietly once I'm done. This style of side-mounted opener is officially called a jackshaft opener, and they're typically a direct swap for your traditional overhead opener. Also, you don't have to mess with the garage door springs during the installation, so this is very much in the realm of a DIY project. I just followed the instructions included with the opener, first mounting the opener to the side of the garage door shaft, and then mounting it to the wall. Next, I added the emergency release handle, which just needed to be looped around a pull cable on the unit. Next on the list was installing the automatic deadbolt, which is a requirement with this kind of system. So the chain on typical overhead openers keeps the garage door from being opened from the outside by intruders, but this jackshaft system doesn't have the same built-in resistance. Instead, pretty much all of these systems come with some kind of remote deadbolt. Thankfully, these are easy to install by drilling a few holes into the garage door track, and this opener even came with a template sticker for easy drilling. I didn't have a 3/4 inch drill bit here at the house, so I needed to widen the hole with a smaller drill bit, but after getting that done, I got the deadbolt mounted to the track. I ran the wiring for the deadbolt later with the rest of the wiring, next of which came from the photo eyes. And these are the devices that keep your garage door from closing if something or someone is blocking the beam between these two sensors. And I could have reused the old photo eyes, but I needed to run new wiring to the new opener anyway since it was in a different location, so I figured I'd install the included photo eyes while I was at it. All of these wires are low voltage, so there's no risk of shock, but you obviously don't want them getting damaged if you want your garage door to be functional. I also added a little coiled section of wire coming off the photo eyes, and this should essentially act as a strain relief in case something gets caught on the wire. Next, I could install the wired opener, and I figured I'd install this on the wall near the door and then add a wireless opener near the entry door to the garage. Once that was installed, I could terminate all of the wires in the opener, and this was super simple and is explained in detail in the instructions. I also added the included battery backup, which is a really nice addition for operating the garage door when the power's out. The last thing to install was the wireless LED light, which is used to signal anyone in the garage if the garage door is being operated remotely. Finally, I could program the upper and lower limits on the opener, and everything seemed to be working great, even with that new bottom seal. Also, it's amazing how much quieter these jackshaft openers are since there's no chain noise. After programming, I tested the safety features, including the auto open and photo eyes, both of which were working as expected. Then I could wrap up the install by adding the wireless button to replace the old garage door button. The next upgrade on my list was replacing the garage door rollers, which was thankfully a pretty easy job. Garage door rollers have come a long way, and these new rollers are going to be a major upgrade from my existing rollers. The new wheels are made of nylon instead of metal, so they'll run a lot more quietly, plus the sealed bearings will keep them running smooth for years to come. So installing all but the bottommost rollers was as simple as removing the bracket holding the roller in place, swapping in the new roller, and reinstalling the bracket. The only real trick here was making sure the brackets got reinstalled in the same location, and thankfully there was a ring of dirt to show me where each bracket needed to go. If your garage door is in better shape, you could just trace around each bracket with a pencil before removing it. Also, I'd highly recommend using a socket with an impact adapter to make this process go much quicker. Now, as I mentioned, these rollers were an easy swap except for the bottommost one, and that's because the cable that helps counterbalance your garage door is typically attached to this bottom bracket. This cable wraps around a drum, and the whole assembly is tensioned by your garage door springs, which have an insane amount of tension built into them. And there are ways to remove the cable from the bracket so you can swap the roller, but I honestly didn't feel comfortable doing this, so I just skipped that bottom roller. And even with only installing 8 out of the 10 rollers, you can hear just how much quieter my garage door is before and after installing the new opener and rollers. It's made a huge difference. And that brings us to upgrade number 5, which was installing new side seals. I saved this upgrade for last because I wanted to make sure the garage door was running in its final configuration with the new opener and rollers before installing the new side seals. My old side seals had definitely seen better days, and they'd cracked at some point over the years, which completely defeated the purpose of even having them. And the same critter that chewed through my bottom seal had also chewed up these side seals, so it was definitely time for them to go. Removing the old seals was actually a little harder than I expected, mostly because they were brittle and just kept snapping rather than pulling out the nails holding them in place. And it's also always stressful working on finished surfaces like this, since the last thing I wanted to do was damage the trim with my hammer. Thankfully, installing the new seals was easier. I just needed to cut the seals to length and nail them in place. And I made sure to push the seals tightly against the garage door during installation and added a brad nail every 6 to 12 inches to hold the seals in place. I also decided to miter the corners, which the seal manufacturer recommended, and I also think this looked a little more professional than the butt joints on the original install. I also needed to splice 2 pieces together for the top seal, and I cut the ends of these pieces at a 22.5 degree angle to help blend that spliced area. Unfortunately, these seals had a pretty serious curl to them due to the way they were stored at my local home center, so measuring was a little tricky, but thankfully everything ended up looking good. Once the seals were installed, I added some caulk to further air seal everything, and once that was done, the new seals were good to go. So I definitely wish I had made some of these improvements years ago, but I know these kinds of home improvement tasks always seem to get pushed off, at least for me. That said, I'm really happy with how the garage is looking, and next on the to-do list will be installing some better lighting and rubber flooring before moving some tools in. So make sure to get subscribed and ring the notification bell if you don't want to miss that video. Thanks for watching, and until next week, happy building.
Ow!
It's good for chicken.
Don't kick me.